Hi viewers, how are you? I hope you are all fine. Today's story is very special, so let's start the story HFY short.
The twin moons of Velcro Prime cast silver shadows across the canyon floor where Mara Ellison fell. Three crystalline arrows protruded from her chest, each one humming with the toxic energy signature of Crithian weaponry. Blood, red and startlingly bright against the purple sand, pooled beneath her as she gasped for air that wouldn't come. She had known the mission was suicide. Everyone on the Terran Vanguard had known. But someone had to retrieve the diplomatic codes from the abandoned outpost, and humans had this annoying habit of volunteering for impossible things. Now she was paying for that tendency. Through dimming vision, Mara saw movement. Two small figures approached, Rexel and Nexa, the felinar cubs she'd been escorting. Their species resembled the cats of old Earth, but scaled up and granted sentience by evolution on a high-gravity world. Their fur shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, currently flickering orange with distress. Human Mara! Rexel's voice was high-pitched with panic. At barely 10 cycles old, he and his sister were juveniles, sent to the human embassy for protection during their planet's civil war. I'm supposed to protect them, Mara thought bitterly, not the other way around. Nexus circled Mara's fallen form, her tail rigid with tension. The arrows are Crithian hunter marks. Each one carries a different toxin. She has minutes at most. We must remove them, Rexel said, his small claws extending. No! Mara forced the word out through bloody lips. Run! Get to the ship! The cubs ignored her. Rexel grasped the shaft of the topmost arrow carefully. Sister, do you remember the Terran medical text human Mara made us study? Every word, Nexa replied, her voice steadier than her brother's. She said humans were fragile, that we needed to understand their biology in case of emergency. Her luminescent patterns shifted to blue, the felinar color of grim determination. I believe this qualifies. Rexel pulled and Mara screamed. The arrow came free with a wet sound that echoed off the canyon walls. Immediately, Nexa pressed her paws against the wound, her body heat far higher than any human's, cauterizing the injury. The text said human blood clots, Nexa murmured, her young face scrunched in concentration. But they need pressure and heat. Am I doing this right, human Mara? Mara couldn't answer. The pain was everything. Rexel held the extracted arrow up to the moonlight, examining it with eyes that could see into the infrared spectrum. Neurotoxin, designed to paralyze prey. He turned to his sister, and something shifted in his expression. The fear left, replaced by something ancient and cold. Sister, the Crithians who fired these arrows, they're still hunting. I know, Nexa said quietly. I can smell them. 3 of them, advancing from the eastern ridge. Mara wanted to tell them to run again, but her vocal cords wouldn't cooperate. The neurotoxin was spreading. Rexel looked down at the arrow in his small paws, then at Mara's failing form. When he spoke, his voice carried an edge that Mara had never heard from the playful cub before. Human Mara taught us many things. Do you remember what she said about human warfare? Nexa's bioluminescence flickered. The difference between humans and other species isn't technology or strength, she recited. It's that when you hurt us, we remember. And when you hurt those we care for, we make sure you never forget. Exactly. Rexel's grip tightened on the arrow. The Crithians want to hunt? Then let's give them back their arrow. His eyes, large and golden in the moonlight, found Mara's. We're small, human Mara. We're young, but you protected us when our world fell apart. You read us stories from your Earth. You made us feel safe. He stood, arrow in paw, and his bioluminescence shifted to red, the felinar war color. Now we learn your way. The Crithians emerged from the shadows with the confidence of apex predators. They were massive, insectoid creatures, with carapaces that glittered like obsidian. The lead hunter clicked its mandibles in satisfaction at the sight of Mara's body, and the 2 small felinar cubs standing over her. Fresh prey, it buzzed in galactic standard. The human is dying. You cubs should flee. We grant you this mercy. Rexel tilted his head, a gesture Mara had taught him, a very human expression of curiosity. Mercy? He echoed. You shot an unarmed diplomat. You pursued us through hostile territory. And now you speak of mercy? The Crithian hunter's compound eyes focused on the cub. You are children. You do not matter in this hunt. You're right, Nexa said, still pressing her paws against Mara's wound. We're just children. Weak, harmless. Her luminescence pulsed. That's what you think, isn't it? It is fact, small one. Rexel laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Human Mara told us a story once about her homeworld, about a species called cats that humans domesticated. Do you know what she said was remarkable about them? The Crithian shifted, suddenly uncertain. She said that humans took the galaxy's most perfect hunters, scaled them down to house pet size, and chose to live with them anyway. Not because they were harmless, but because humans appreciated the danger. Rexil's claws extended fully, each one glistening with the neurotoxin from the arrow he deliberately coated them with. The Felinar evolved from the same evolutionary niche. We are those perfect hunters, Crithian, just bigger. And right now, he moved. Felinar cubs on a high-gravity world could accelerate from standstill to 60 kilometers per hour in less than a second. Rexel was across the distance before the Crithian could even register movement. The poisoned arrow, their arrow, found the soft joint between the hunter's head and thorax. We're very, very angry, Rexel finished. The Crithian fell, twitching, as its own neurotoxin flooded its nervous system. The other two hunters opened fire, plasma bolts scorching the purple sand. But Nexa was already moving, using the canyon's shadows and her bioluminescent control to create false targets. The Felinar had evolved as ambush predators on a world where everything was bigger and stronger. They'd learned to be clever, to be fast, to be vicious when necessary. The second hunter died with Nexa's fangs in its throat. The third tried to flee. Rexil ran it down. When silence returned to the canyon, the two cubs limped back to Mara. Their fur was singed, their bioluminescence dim with exhaustion. But they were alive. Nexa resumed her position, pressing heat into Mara's wounds. Human Mara, stay with us, please. Mara's eyes fluttered open. The neurotoxin was fading, her augmented immune system finally gaining ground. She looked at the two small forms covered in ichor and blood and managed a weak smile. Good, cubs, she whispered. Rexil sat beside her, still holding the arrow. You taught us that humans fight for those they care about, that they never abandon their own. His young voice cracked. We're yours, human Mara. That makes us human too, doesn't it? At least in spirit. Yes, Mara breathed. In every way, that matters. Hours later, when the rescue team from the Terran Vanguard arrived, they found Mara Ellison barely alive but stable, surrounded by 3 dead Crithian hunters. Rexil and Nexa sat on either side of her, their small bodies pressed against hers for warmth, their bioluminescence pulsing a soft protective gold. The rescue team's medic, a grizzled veteran named Chen, knelt beside them and ran his scanner over Mara. How? He asked simply. Rexil looked up at him with ancient eyes and a young face. She taught us about humanity, he said, so we gave it back to her, with interest. Chen looked at the dead hunters, at the cauterized wounds, at the 2 small predators who'd faced down death itself for their human protector. He smiled. Welcome to the pack, cubs, he said. And in that moment, the Galactic Council learned something new about humans. They didn't just fight their own battles. They taught others how to fight too. And those students, whether human-born or adopted into the tribe, became just as terrifyingly